Hi, so I know you guys have started Ancient China a little while ago, but I thought I'd go over the beginning, the first lesson, and kind of compare a little bit to some of the ancient civilizations we've already learned about, like Egypt and China. Um, so let me show you this PowerPoint here. We'll start with some of the geography. So just like Egypt, the first civilization in China was based around a river. And the name means yellow river, but it's this right here, the Wang He. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but the Wang He, which is means yellow river. The reason is the soil was really fertile and had like a yellow color, and the soil would go into the water and make it yellow as well. And that is what gave it its name. You guys can see also that it connects here to the Pacific Ocean. So the people of China also have a lot of access to ocean resources as well. But this rich soil initially produced a lot of wheat, which was a great staple for people to survive off of, and was one of the largest producers of wheat in the area. And then the unfortunate part about this river, though, like the Nile, was that it flooded very often, and it actually killed millions of people. And so it's kind of like a blessing and a curse, because it provided a lot of food, but then it also killed a lot of people. So eventually the people of China moved to another river, which was the Shangjiang, which is this river here. And this river actually is 3,915 miles long, which is just behind the Amazon and the Nile as far as the longest rivers. So it's like the third longest river. It also had really rich soil surrounding it, and the people grew rice near this river as one of their food staples. It also provided a waterway for trade and transportation. And so trade obviously is very important, so you can get other goods that you need to survive. Another interesting thing about the geography of China is that it was very mountainous and also had desert, which means that it had limited land that could actually grow food. So only a tenth of the land could be farmed, which isn't a whole lot. So the Gobi Desert was a big desert that was in not an area that they could grow food. And then also you have the Himalaya, and then two other big mountain ranges in China that kind of also isolated the people here. So they became really strong in their culture because they didn't have a lot of ways to mix with other cultures. And so their culture became very strong. And let's see, a few other notes. They had myths and legends, just like the Greeks and the Egyptians. One of their myths was that a man named Yu had help with dragons helped him dig channels to control floodwaters. And it said that he founded China's first dynasty back in about 2000 BCE. So quite a while ago. So that was kind of between the time of the pyramids in Giza and Moses leading the people out of Egypt. So it was like in between there. So the first main kingdom, well, actually, let's go to the next page here, which shows terraced farming. And this was a way to farm on really steep slopes so that you could still, even though you have this slopey landscape, they built these terraces so that they can use even this land to grow food. And then here are some, just to reiterate some of the notes that I had already mentioned. It began along the Huanghe, the Yellow River, and later the Shangyang or Yangtze River due to the rich soil. Although China has fertile rivers, mountains and desert make up much of the landscape, and only 10% of the land can be farmed. The mountains and desert made a physical and cultural barrier, isolating China. China's isolation led to develop a unique culture and a strong sense of independence. All right, and then the next, we start with the Shang Kingdom, which is this purple area here, and you can see that it's near in these two rivers we had mentioned before, along with the Yellow Sea and East China Sea, so it has a lot of water access. All right, so let's go to this interactive map real quick.
These are the boundaries of China's first historical dynasty, the Shang Empire. Under the Shang Empire, the Chinese built their first major cities and crafted fine bronze works.
All right. Okay. So the Shang Kingdom, Shang built the first cities. In the middle of the city was a palace and a temple. Shang was a king and a powerful person. He served as political, religious, and a military leader all in one. He appointed warlords as military, basically leaders to control territories. You also had an upper class, which contained these warlords and other royal officials, which were called aristocrats. The middle class or lower class of regular people were farmers and worshipped many gods, so they were polytheistic, just like the Greeks and the Egyptians. These are oracle bones here in this picture. You can see that they wrote messages on animal bones to show the Chinese language originated with pictures representing words. These oracle bones were, let's see, one of the first things they found that showed that they used symbols as writing. And we have these other symbols here, like, for example, tree, multiple trees put together as forest. So this specific artifact dates back to 3,000 years ago. Let's see. Some of the other characteristics of ancient Chinese people is that they honored their ancestors. They made offerings to their ancestors. They hoped their ancestors would bring good luck and help them in difficult times. Many Chinese today still do this by going to temples and burning small paper copies of food, clothing, and other items. These copies represent things that departed relatives need in the afterlife. So that sounds kind of similar to the Egyptians a little bit. So a few other things from the Shang. Shang kings believed that they received their power to rule from the gods and their wisdom from their ancestors. So there were multiple kings. The religion and government was closely linked together. They weren't separated, they were intertwined. So for the kings, it was an important duty to contact the gods and the ancestors before making important decisions. They also asked for help by using oracle bones. The priest would scratch questions on the bones, such as, will I win the battle? And will I have an abundant harvest? And then the priest would heat the oracle bones over fire until they cracked. The pattern of the cracks provided answers from the gods. So these, this writing was also a key advancement from the Shang society, and pictographs are characters that represent a picture. For example, the Chinese characters for sun and moon are pictographs. Ideographs are another kind of character used in Chinese writing. They link two or more pictographs to express an idea. So forest would be multiple trees put together. So in our language, we have phonics. So for example, A says A or A, and the letter B says B. So these are not quite the same because they stand for a whole word. So it's different in that way. Let's see. Shang Arts, they also create objects made of bronze. These works of art are some of the finest bronzes ever made. To make bronze objects, artisans made clay molds in several parts. Then they carved designs into the clay. Finally, they joined the parts of the mold together and poured in the metal bronze. When it cooled, the artisans removed the mold. The finished object was a beautifully decorated work of art. So we'll go ahead and take a look at some of that here. So for example, the bronze elephant was produced during the Shang dynasty. All right. Sorry. Ancient Chinese dragons. Dragons played an important role in ancient Chinese myths and culture. This dragon was thought to protect the heavenly dwellings of the gods. So if you look at the image here, you can see the clothing. You can see in this artwork, there's dragon. Oops, why is that? Yeah, so anyway. They use the dragons in rituals to call the rain. And they also controlled winds, things like that. All right, so to review, China's first dynasty, the Shang, ruled from around 1750 BC to 1045 BC. As the Shang dynasty grew and spread, kings kept the territory safe by appointing local warlords to protect the regions. People of Shang China honored both gods and ancestors. Shang kings used oracle bones to contact gods and ancestors before making important decisions. Chinese of the Shang dynasty wrote in pictographs and ideographs and created objects of bronze, silk, fine ceramics, and jade. Okay, now we have the Zhou Empire. These rulers maintained the longest lasting dynasty in Chinese history. Let's make sure I said that.
Zhou Empire 1045-2.
Okay, Zhou Empire. So here you have this map. Let's see if we can get this to play.
The Zhou dynasty was
Zhou.
larger than the Chong dynasty that preceded it. It grew difficult to govern centrally, so the king divided the country into territories. Each territory was governed by an aristocrat appointed by the king.
Awesome. Okay. We have more Chinese dragons. This dragon is an example of jade work from the Zhou dynasty. Let's review a few key details. The Zhou dynasty, which ruled after the Shang, lasted for more than 800 years and is China's longest ruling dynasty. The kings ruled under a mandate of heaven and with the help of bureaucracy and a strong army. Okay, so mandate of heaven, which means basically that they came to rule by the decision of the gods. Under the Zhou king, the Chinese developed irrigation systems, a more reliable water supply, and the use of horses in battle. Aristocrats began to fight each other for power, which eventually led to the fall of the Zhou Empire. All right, so let's see. I think that about wraps it up. Do you want to be? Okay, so to wrap it up, for many centuries, Chinese farmers had to depend on rain to water their crops. Under the Zhou kings, the Chinese developed new systems to irrigate the land, so they didn't have to rely on rain as much. The trade also expanded. they found pieces of Chinese silk in Central Asia and as far away as Greece. So that was really important, and it's cool to see that their pieces of silk and things were being traded so far away. So I'll do lesson 2 tomorrow. So that's it for now. Let's go back.